Hey, it's Sherman Ragland, and I don't know why I'm doing this, but I decided I was going to weigh in on this issue that's going on right now. A lot of people talking about this new thing called the Affordable Care Act, talking about the fact that the US Congress has decided to shut down the federal government, or I should say an element, small element or a small faction within the US Congress decided to shut down the federal government. And a lot of people are saying, well, the reason why we're doing this is because this thing, the Affordable Care Act, is going to hurt small businesses, it's going to hurt the American people. And I've been a small business owner since 1989, going on 24 years now. We're going to celebrate our 25th anniversary in February of 2014. And I've been through the ups, I've been through the downs, I've seen the good, the bad, the ugly. And I don't hear any small business owners, real business owners, folks that have to make a payroll every 2 weeks, talking about this thing called Affordable Care Act. And I thought I would just go ahead and weigh in and tell you my 2 cents or my thoughts on this thing and what I think about it. But before I do that, I need to share with you a little bit about my background. I, like many folks, probably just like you, had parents that were really strong believers in education. My father was first generation to go to college in our family. My mom, pretty much everybody on her side of the family went to college because my grandfather was a doctor. He was in private practice, and he made sure that he always had enough money, no matter what was going on with the private practice, to pay for private education and to pay for the best colleges that he could send my mom, my aunt, and my uncle to. And so I had sort of this opportunity to see sort of both sides of it growing up as a kid. Grew up in the suburbs of Washington, D.C., out in Columbia, Maryland. And my parents always pounded on me, go to school, get good grades, get a good job, because it'll take care of you for the rest of your life. Unfortunately, that's not exactly the way it panned out. But fortunately, when life throws lemons at you, my parents also taught me to make lemonade. So let me talk real specific about my background. So I went to school, got good grades, wound up going to Towson University, graduated in Towson, wound up getting a full fellowship to the graduate school of my choice, and I picked the Wharton School of Business, where I took courses in real estate finance, and then got a job with XEROX Corporation on a big real estate project that they were doing, working first in Stamford, Connecticut, and then out in Loudoun County, Virginia, on a project called Lansdowne. I was employee number 2 at Lansdowne. When the real estate market started to crash and crater in the late 80s, I wound up going downtown working for a real estate development company called the Carr Co. And when the real estate market totally collapsed in 1989, I started my own company. And I've been basically working my own company pretty much ever since. There was a very brief stint where I left Oliver Carr, went to work for this startup company out of Texas that wanted to open up a Washington, D.C. office. And so I was the second employee to help open up this Washington, D.C. office, working on doing large-scale projects. And then about 8 months into that, the powers that be back in Texas said, pull the plug, even though we were very profitable, pulled the plug on us. And I wound up taking some of the contracts that we had, some of the relationships that we had, and explaining to them that the company I was working for was shutting down, but I was going to continue working, but I was going to go into private practice for myself as a real estate consultant, as a real estate advisor, and got hired by several companies to basically do large-scale real estate projects down on Pennsylvania Avenue. From there, I wound up becoming a government contractor, and I can remember in those early days of setting up the company, because in the world of government contracting, you have to write proposals, and then you have to wait for them to award those proposals. And I can remember at the time I was married, my father-in-law said, hey, if you need a place to run your business, I'm going to go ahead and pay for you to have an office suite for 6 months. Go on down to 1501 K Street and pick out an office suite. And I wound up picking out the office suite that was available, the only one that had an actual sofa in the office suite. And I remember many nights writing proposals, falling asleep on the sofa, and then around midnight getting back up to work on some of the work that we had picked up, some of these small contracts that we picked up. Unfortunately, the business got to be so tight, so bad, because the economy got to be so bad, I actually wound up applying for a job. It took them 6 months, but I wound up applying for a job and getting a job at the federal government. And I remember the second day on the job at the federal government. It took them 6 months to hire me. I remember the second day on job with the federal government, I said, there's no way in hell I can stay here because these people are crazy. That's what I said. And so I left, and with the lesson learned from that, I made myself a promise, I've made myself a vow 24 years ago that nobody would ever sign my paycheck but me. And in the early days, it was just me. It was just me, and I didn't have to worry about a whole lot of the stuff that was going on. And then we won contract after contract after contract. We were on a roll for the first 3-4 years. Next thing I knew, I had a company with 125 employees. 125 employees, from me to 125 employees. Needless to say, I was blessed. But along with that blessing came the understanding that I was now also responsible, because in the marketplace in which we work, I was now also responsible for 125 employees, including taking care of their health care. That was 24 years ago, 24 years ago. And we, like most businesses, have gone through the ups and the downs and the sideways and all the things that go on. And for the most part, we've done extremely well as business, and I've done extremely well as a business owner. And then I had a magic thing, I guess magic for me. I had an epiphany. I had a change in direction. See, up until that point in time, I had been a government contractor, which basically meant we competed for work against other people, and then once we got the work, we basically staffed up and did the job. And we had one particular contract that was awarded in 1987, where basically we were responsible for helping an agency of the federal government sell off real estate stuff. And so we wound up hiring 48 people in the fall, and 3 months into the job, I get a phone call, I get a notice from the contracting officer saying you need to slow work down. And then they said we needed to shut work down. And then 3 days before Thanksgiving, I had to lay off 48 people. 3 days before Thanksgiving. And when I went back to the federal procurement officer and said, why am I doing this? What's going on here? Is there something wrong with our work? She said, no, there's nothing wrong with your work. We've just decided to cancel the program. It's called a stop work order. And I don't know if you've ever been responsible for writing your own paycheck, or you've ever been responsible for writing a paycheck for other people, but the worst feeling in the world is to do the best job you know how, and then have to tell 48 people 3 days before Thanksgiving that they no longer have a job because the agency that you're working for has decided to issue a stop work order. And that was when I decided, you know what, as successful as we have been in the world of government contracting, I don't want to be a government contractor no more because I don't like my boss. It wasn't that I didn't like the people, it's that I just became really sour on the federal government and what the federal government does in terms of how it manages its own business. I understand the necessity for a federal government. I mean, we're the strongest country in the world. I understand the necessity for some of the rules and regulations. But I no longer wanted to be a part of this system that basically could willy-nilly cut off people's livelihood and not even care. I had enough. I'd had it up to here. So I shifted direction, and we really started to focus on real estate and real estate investment and real estate projects, and really get away from the federal government. And truthfully, thank God I have. And I think we've gotten pretty good over the past few years as a real estate services company. But I wanted to share a little bit about that with you to say, look, I know what it's like to be a small business owner, to go from one person to 125 people, to have to lay people off, to have situations happen that are beyond your control. And I understand what it means to make a payroll. So I hear all this chatter about, what's going on with the Affordable Care Act or Obamacare, whatever you want to call it. And people saying, well, this is going to be bad for business. Well, let me tell you firsthand my own personal experience, our company's experience with this. So we've offered health care for our folks ever since I had to go out and hire the first employee. And when we first started hiring employees back in the late 1980s, early 1990s, health care was costing us somewhere around $150 per employee per month. But over the years, it seems like the health care payments we were making were going up on average 5 to 6% each and every year, to the point that in 2008, 2009, at the heart of the recession, the deepest recession that we've been in as a country since the Great Depression, and I got news for you. Those of us in the real estate business, it was a depression. Most of the people who got really harmed, really jacked up during this last go-around, this last recession, were real estate people. If you actually look at the numbers of people who lost their homes to foreclosure, you'd be surprised to see that the largest number of folks who lost their homes were people in the real estate industry, mortgage professionals and real estate agents. So we had basically become a real estate company, running a real estate company, but still offering health care, even though we didn't have 50, 60, 70 employees anymore. When we got out of the government contracts business, we were no longer having these large payrolls, but we were still offering health care. And the price we were paying each and every month was around $435 a month. So here we are in 2009, 2010, at the deepest part of the recession, where it's almost impossible to get any business coming in the door. And we're still going. And I'm signing paychecks, or excuse me, I'm signing checks to the insurance company for each employee to the tune of $435, $445 a month. A month. And the bottom line is, if we had missed a single payment any one of those months, they would have dropped our insurance plan. Nobody in the company would have been covered with insurance. And there was many a day I wish that I could have just simply said, you know what, we're not going to offer health insurance anymore. But I had one particular challenge with that. I had one employee who's very, very dear to me, who basically developed a health condition a year before this all happened. And under the old rules before the Affordable Care Act, that would have been considered a pre-existing condition. So if I had missed a single payment on the health care that we were carrying, they would have wiped out our health coverage, and that person could not get health coverage anyplace else. And as an employer, as a business owner, I had to make the decision that there were certain bills that month, those months, that year, we weren't going to pay. But the one bill we were going to pay was the health insurance. And then as time went on, I said to myself, this is crazy. This is crazy. And so fortunately, the Affordable Care Act got passed, and all of a sudden, pre-existing conditions were no more. So after about 6 months after that pre-existing condition nonsense got wiped out because of the Affordable Care Act, I went back to that employee and said, do you think you can get insurance someplace else? Because I'm not going to leave you high and dry. And she says, I think so, I'll have to look around. And so she looked into the private marketplace. You know, the insurance in the private marketplace was going to cost her $1,000 a month. And I said, no, I can't have you do that. We'll keep on paying for it. But then she had a conversation with her husband, found out that she could go onto her husband's health care plan for about an extra $25 a month. And just to make sure that we weren't going to leave her high and dry, we said, okay, we'll keep paying the insurance for the entire company, for everybody, until such time as you know that you can make that transition. 3 months after that, we took a look around and we said to all the employees, look guys, we're getting rid of the health insurance program. And a couple of people said, well, you know, that's going to be a problem for me. I said, well, just understand this. Pre-existing conditions are no more. No longer can you be denied health coverage if you want to go switch to something else. So at least go out in the marketplace and look at it. At the same time, we went back to the same health insurance carrier that we had and say, is there any way that we can get this payment down from $445 a month down to something cheaper? You know what they said to us? Sure you can. What you need to do is either go with a much more inferior health plan, or, how you like this one, or hire younger workers, and oh, by the way, stop hiring so many women. That's what our health insurance company told us. If you want to get a cheaper policy, hire younger people and hire guys. Now, you think they're going to defend me in my gender discrimination, my age discrimination lawsuit? Oh no. And in fact, they deny it if in fact we actually put them on the spot and tell you that that's what they said. But that's what they said. They actually said it in writing. They actually sent it to us in writing. Can you believe it? But the bottom line is, when the Affordable Care Act came into play, pre-existing conditions were no longer a part of the equation. Second thing that happened, 2011, 2012, economy got better, we started looking to hire some folks. At this point in time, we had basically eliminated our health care program. So we basically we're out in the process of hiring new employees, and one of the employees that was our top pick, we had a conversation with him on his last interview and said, now, you need to understand this. We are no longer offering health insurance. We're looking at a new health insurance program, but right now we're not offering health insurance. You know what the potential employee said to me? He says, I don't care. He said, I don't care because I'm staying on my dad's insurance policy. And my dad has a really good insurance policy. So I don't need your insurance policy. I'm like, geez, glory, hallelujah. And I began asking the question, why is it that he's at 25 years old can stay? Because of the Affordable Care Act. Because of the Affordable Care Act, parents can now cover their kids while their kids are finishing up college, finishing up grad school, and getting ready to go into whatever their first career is going to be. That's another reason that I like this new Affordable Care Act. Let me give you one more reason why I like this Affordable Care Act. See, I just turned 50 years old. And a couple years ago, I started looking at my health and saying I could probably do a better job. I could probably lose some weight and do a better job. And just to be very personal, there's a history of cancers in my family. So I was listening to the radio here in the DC area, WTOP, and there was this guy advertising on the radio. He's a doctor who has a clinic that basically says that they specialize in giving you the most advanced screening possible to make sure that there's anything possibly wrong with you, they'll find it before it shows up. Months ahead of when you would normally find it if you just go through a normal exam. So I'm like, you know what, I'm getting ready to turn 50, let me go ahead and go through this. So I signed up for his program, took him a month for them to get me in there. We sat down, we had a consultation together. 30 minutes in the consultation, you know what he says to me? He says, our program is X thousands of dollars. And oh, by the way, we don't take health insurance. So if you want to go through this program, you're going to have to pay for it using something other than your health insurance. Now, what do you think I did? I paid for it. I wanted the treatment, I paid for it. But then I came back to the office, and 2 weeks later, I'm signing another check for another health insurance premium, and all of a sudden it dawns on me, the health insurance that I'm paying for my employees, including me, I can't even use it because my doctor doesn't take health insurance. I'm like, isn't that a kick in the head? And this is what's wrong with the health insurance program as it exists pre-Affordable Care Act. When do most people think about their health insurance? 3 times. They think about it when they go for a job, get a new job, and what's one of the last things they negotiate with an employer before they sign up? What's your health care package? So that's when they think about it. When else do they think about it? They think about it when they get sick. When they get sick, the first thing they say is, okay, what do I need to, what's this going to cost me? What do I need to do? And then the third time they think about it is when they leave the job, either voluntarily or involuntarily. And unfortunately, I've had to go through the process of laying people off. You know what one of the worst things is when you lay people off? All of a sudden they realize they can't afford the health insurance policy that their employer was paying for. So they drop their insurance altogether. In fact, in our industry, in the real estate industry, the trade association for our industry is called the National Association of Realtors. They claim that there are 1.4 million people like me, realtors, real estate agents, real estate brokers, who basically are members of this trade association. 1.4. Let me put that in perspective for you. According to the Department of Defense, there's 1.2 million full-time active duty folks in the military defending our country. So the National Association of Realtors has a larger army than the US federal government in terms of military people. That's how big the National Association of Realtors is. Now understand this. Probably 50 to 60% of the people who are real estate agents, members of the National Association of Realtors, are probably working in real estate as a part-time thing. So they probably have health coverage coming from their regular employer or their family plan. But about 40% of that 1.4 million are basically full-time real estate agents. They're full-time. In other words, if they don't get out there and hustle as a real estate agent, they don't make any money. Out of that group, roughly about half do not have health insurance. Half. Roughly 275,000 real estate agents do not have health insurance. And many of us in the real estate industry know of people who are full-time real estate agents who've gotten sick, gone to the hospital, found out that they had cancer or some other debilitating disease, and couldn't work. Going through chemotherapy and can't work, and don't have health insurance. That's insane. How in the greatest country in the world can you have people who say, I don't have, it's simple. Because pre-Affordable Care Act, if you were an independent contractor running your own business and you wanted to go get insurance, you were looking at $750 to $1,000 a month. Nobody can afford that. And if you are basically living based on your ability to close transactions, and you may not close a transaction in a month, and then you have to wait 2 or 3 months, you can't make $2,000 2 months worth of payments. That's insane. So what's happening this week? What's going on right now? There's an element of Congress that has totally shut down the federal government because they say that this Affordable Care Act, this Obamacare thing, is going to destroy the country. And at the same time that they're shutting down the government, all of these exchanges are popping up, and we're hearing the stories about people getting insurance today who couldn't get insurance before. And you know what the average price that they're being quoted for their insurance is? $250 to $300 a month. And there are even people who are able to get insurance for themselves down to $150 because in some cases they qualify for a subsidy. So, number one, pre-existing conditions are no longer the rule. That's out because of the Affordable Care Act. Number two, it is very clear that the price of insurance for independent practitioners, for small business owners, for small businesses is down now to a rate that's affordable. $250. As the president said last week, there are people who pay more for that on their cell phone bill, and I know that's true. Or cable TV bill, I know that's true. So $250, whereas last year, or not last year, but before these exchanges opened up, last month, you would have been paying $1,000 for the same insurance. All of a sudden, the pool is bigger and the amount of money that folks will pay for insurance is cheaper. It's another reason why I like it. But the third, and I think the most important, at the end of the day, what I decided to do as a small business owner, and if you're a small business owner, you can do whatever you please. That's the beauty of owning your own business. But what I decided to do was instead of paying the insurance company $500 a month, because the last rate hike that we had before I cut it all out, we were at $497 a month. $497 a month. It was going up 10% a year, past couple years. So instead of giving the insurance company $500 a month, I now give my employees a stipend of $500 a month. It's in their paycheck. Here's your salary, here's your stipend. And they can go out and pick and choose whatever health program they want. It's called the individual mandate. I call it individual accountability. Because you want to know what's wrong with this country, you want to know what's, in my opinion, what's wrong now with healthcare. The employer pays the healthcare bill. The employee uses the insurance, but when they go see the doctor says it's $30. So employees think, well, hey, every time I go to the doctor, it's $30. What they don't know is that the employer has already paid $300, $400, $500. So that trip to the doctor wasn't $30. It was way more than that. Why in the world should I, as an employer, not only pay, but pick the health insurance program for all of my employees and then pay for it? That's like me as an employer saying to my employees, you know what, I want to pick which car you drive. I'll pay the bill. I want to pick which house you live in. I want to pick which apartment you live in, and I'll pay the bill. What is that? That doesn't sound like America to me, but that's what we've been doing as small business owners who've been offering health insurance, as medium-sized business owners that offer health insurance. I don't want to be in that business. I'm not in the health business. I'm not in the insurance business. I'm a real estate guy, and I do a pretty darn good job as a real estate guy. So today what we do is we offer our employees a salary, and we offer them a stipend that they get in cash to go buy health insurance. And God bless them. God bless them if they can find an insurance policy for $200 or $250 or $300 and pocket $200 a month. You know what I'd like for them to do with it? Go take the $200 and go join a health club. Go take the extra $200 and go get fresh fruits and vegetables and live a healthier lifestyle. But what I don't want to do as a business owner ever again is have to be responsible each and every year picking a health plan for everybody. Each and every month paying a stipend or paying money to the health insurance companies, and my employees never even see the benefit of it until such time as they got to go to the hospital, or seeing the downside of it when they leave the company, and now all of a sudden they got to find somebody who's going to pay $400 or $500 a month. I'd rather just give the money straight to my employees. And I got news for you. Before the Affordable Care Act came into place, it never would have happened. It couldn't have happened because they couldn't have afforded the insurance because it was not affordable. So here's the bottom line. We got a whole bunch of chuckleheads, and I'm just being as kind as I can. We got a whole bunch of chuckleheads right now in Congress who want to shut down the federal government because they say this is going to hurt small businesses. Well, as one small business owner who's been writing payroll checks for 24 years, I can tell you the Affordable Care Act is good. And I don't care whether you call it ACA, Obamacare, put any label you want on it. But the bottom line is pre-existing conditions don't exist. There's a larger pool of insurance that's available. And number three, folks can pick, choose, and be responsible for their own health insurance. And for the first time as a business owner in 24 years, I'm out of the health insurance business. Glory, hallelujah. I couldn't be happier. And the fact that I'm giving my employees $500 and they don't want to use all $500 for health insurance, that's fine. It's their decision. So some people say, well, Sherman, so-and-so says that this is a bad thing. I had somebody on my Facebook page, well, Donald Trump says this is a bad thing. Let me tell you something. I have a tremendous amount of respect for Donald Trump as a business leader. I have a tremendous amount of respect for Donald Trump as a father. In fact, I can tell you, watching those 3 kids that he's got working in his company, Donald Trump is one hell of a dad. Because you don't get 3 kids like that without being a good dad. And the last time I saw him, that's exactly what I said to him. I said, you ought to be awfully proud. And in this particular case where I was talking about his daughter, Ivanka, you ought to be awfully proud of the way that you raised her. But here's the bottom line. While I respect Donald Trump as a business leader, while I respect what he's done in the world of real estate, and while I tremendously respect from one father to another father the way he's raised his kids, I don't give a rat's butt about what Donald Trump thinks about the President of the United States or his policies. Because the last time I checked, when I had to pay those health premiums, when I had to pay my kids' college tuition, when I had to take care of running my business, Donald Trump didn't call me up and say, hey, Sherman, I'm going to send you an extra couple $1,000s to take care of that. That was my responsibility. And as business owners, we have to make our own decisions based on the facts. Not opinion, facts. In fact, I remember growing up as a kid when I was in high school. My mom was getting her PhD, and she had this book on the table. I'll never forget it. It had the strangest sound. It was the strangest name of a book I've ever seen in my life. I said, Mom, explain to me what that book is all about. The title of the book was Nation of Sheep. 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 And what she explained to me was that through mass media and other things, the United States was becoming a nation of sheep. People incapable of making their own decisions and instead following what other people have to say. And unfortunately, in the day and age in which we live, with cable TV and the news channels basically being on one side or the other, and I don't care whether it's Rush Limbaugh or Rachel Maddow or whoever, people have stopped making decisions. Otherwise intelligent, bright, incredibly industrious people not taking the time to look at a set of facts and make their own decision, and basically just following what other people are telling them what they should be thinking. There's something deeply wrong with this country right now when you have a group of people, chuckleheads is what I will call them, although I think something different of them, who can basically hijack and shut down the entire US federal government and make the US federal government the laughing stock of the world. And when you say to them, why did you shut down the federal government? You know what they say? It sounds like this. We don't like the president. We don't think the president knows what he's doing. We think the president is dangerous. We think the president's going to run the country into the ground. So we're going to run it into the ground before he gets the chance. What? That's exactly what they're saying. That's exactly what they're doing. And it's time for fellow business owners like us, to say, cut out the nonsense. We want to run a business. We want to provide for our families. We want to pay our fair share of taxes. But y'all are crazy, and you need to cut it out. And those of you who are in leadership need to start leading and stop letting the crazies run this country. Because if you let the crazies continue to run this country, none of us are going to like where we wind up. To my friends who are employees of the federal government, who are federal government contractors, let me just say my last part of this message for you. If you have not figured this out by now, you're working for crazy people. The US Congress is the same thing as a board of directors. And while there may be some good people in the US Congress, I know some of them on a first name and a very friendly basis, and I think the world of them. The bottom line is you got a whole bunch of other folks on that board, on your board, who are crazy. And they're going to continue to wreak havoc with your lifestyle. And if you are ready once and for all to get the heck out of there. If you are waking up the same way I woke up 20-some years ago when I was an employee of the federal government and said, you know what, I need to get the hell out of here because these folks are crazy, and if I stick around long enough, I won't be crazy too. If you're ready to cut it off and get out, then I invite you to come and find out what we do here at the Real Investors Academy. You can go to www.lifechangingeducation.com. www.lifechangingeducation.com and find out more about our programs. If you're in the Washington, D.C. area or the greater Washington region, we want to hear from you. I will even send you a free pair of tickets for our next event on how to get started as a real estate investor. We've had people get $65,000, $75,000, $78,000, $100,000 checks on one deal. And I know if you're a federal employee or work for a federal government contractor in the greater Washington area, that you're probably making really good money. But at some point in time, you got to say, is this really worth it? Working for people who I know don't give a damn about me or my family, could care less whether or not I make my next mortgage payment. If nothing else, let this government shutdown be a wake-up call to you. It's time to get out. And if you're ready to get out, we can help you. And to my fellow business owners, I would say to you, don't listen. Don't be a part of this nation of sheep. Don't listen to the crazies. Look at the facts, look at the law, look at what it offers for you, your business, and make your own decisions and make your voice heard any way you can. I'm not saying run for Congress, although that's not a bad idea, but post it on Facebook. Tell people, if you have firsthand experience that's good or bad about this new law, tell people. But don't sit on the sidelines, be silent. Because while you're sitting on the sidelines being silent, the crazies are running amok, claiming that you think that what they're doing is right. You need to stop that or help stop that. And finally, to my fellow real estate agents, my fellow realtors, you need to call the National Association of Realtors and ask them why they are not telling more folks who are licenses, who are members of the association, that affordable health care is finally available to us. Call them. Call them in DC, call them in their office in Chicago, and ask them why aren't they doing a better job educating fellow realtors? Why are they so afraid of the politicians that they won't get out there? They're not saying that it's bad. They're not saying that it's good. But you know what else they're not saying? That affordable health care is available to independent contractors, to independent agents. They need to tell you that. That's all I got to say. Thank you for letting me rant. If you hate me, go ahead and post the comments if you're seeing this on Facebook and tell me how much you hate me. Unfriend me, that's your prerogative. But if anything I've said has struck a chord, if anything that I've said that you've agreed with, let me know about that too. But most importantly, again, if you've been impacted in any way by this federal government shutdown, I want you to be a part of our family. I want you to get free. I want you to be free like I got free from the federal government. Free as an employee, free as a contractor, be in a position to make your own decisions about your financial future. And I want to invite you to come join us for our next session. Go to www.lifechangingeducation.com. God bless. I got a class to teach. See ya.